All right, so Ambassador Vandenberg, Marten, thank you so much for joining us. Ilse, thank you so much for joining us as well. We really appreciate your time. And we're deeply excited to highlight the work that the Netherlands has been doing to build the foundation of the global alternative protein sector, and especially the kinds of partnerships that are already underway between the Netherlands and India to advance the sector. My first question is for Marten. What work is ongoing in the Netherlands to stimulate business activity, research, and entrepreneurship for alternative protein? And what kinds of models have been set up to establish the Netherlands as a major cradle of innovation of the alternative protein world?
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's really wonderful to join this session. I think there's a very strong relationship between the Netherlands and India on addressing challenges of our society. We work very closely with India on energy-related issues, water, health issues, but of course also agriculture. Agriculture sector for both our countries is key, and we both face a lot of challenges, whether it's in creating a more circular and sustainable agricultural sector. Dealing with the protein challenge is very, very important. We see a growing population, and I think there's a demand for more high quality food as well. And the Netherlands, of course, has a huge history in dealing with agricultural challenges. Of course, the agricultural sector in India is also very, very big. And I think we are working now on all kind of innovative solutions. The Netherlands has a kind of what we call a triple helix model, that the private companies, government institutions, and R&D knowledge institutions work very, very closely on working together, addressing those issues and challenges, also very much in dealing with the reliable, high-quality protein and finding alternatives for the food issue of today.
Ilse, I think really I wanted to ask you the same question as well, because when we talk about models that have been conducive to your work, building that bridge between the Netherlands and India on the agricultural front, I think you would have a lot to report on on how you've been sort of set up for success in that respect, because the model of the Netherlands is really enviable around the world.
Yeah, thank you, Varun. Well, I think as Marten already indicated, the triple helix model is really conducive to innovation. In this triple helix approach, we have sector clusters that develop joint action plans based on joint knowledge and innovation agendas, and they conduct the bulk of the Dutch R&D, and they're very much export oriented and focusing on societal challenges. And one of the priority topics happens to be plant-based proteins. As the Netherlands, we also have a national protein strategy where we focus on plant-based proteins for human consumption, but also, for example, use of insects, waste, and side streams for animal feeds. So just part of the broader strategy of creating sustainable food systems and making food systems more circular. And I think, one of the reasons why the Netherlands has become such a hotspot for food processing in general, and also plant-based protein production, is that we have access to a lot of European consumers that are increasingly interested in these products. We have a strong trading infrastructure, for example, with the Port of Rotterdam. We have a lot of major companies investing in R&D in the Netherlands, and coupled with favorable government policies and this relatively high interest in plant-based alternatives, this just draws companies to the Netherlands. What helps even more is that we have regional initiatives such as Food Valley, which I believe will be speaking in the same session today, that support small and medium-sized enterprises in valorizing promising innovations. And I believe, Varun, next week you'll be speaking at their annual summit. So one of their groups, the Protein Cluster, is really actively bringing together businesses from all levels of the plant-based protein supply chain, and that really leads to efficient collaboration. So we have companies like Unilever that are already producing plant-based products for companies such as Burger King. We have Beyond Meat that has expanded local production capabilities in the Netherlands. Upfield, the producer of plant-based cheeses and margarines, just announced a €50 million investment in the Food and Science Center in Wageningen. We have Impossible Foods, the inventor of the Impossible Burger, looking at EU approval for their products and also using the Netherlands as a gateway. And even a Dutch meat provider, Vian, is now venturing into plant-based proteins. So I think you're right it's really a hotbed. And of course, this is also aided by having Wageningen University, our world-leading agricultural university, which is also really an ecosystem of alternative protein research. And, they aim to offer more diverse protein sources within the next 10 years, and they actively collaborate with the industry. And I think all of that is really conducive to innovation in plant-based proteins.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right. We do have Jeroen speaking today, and we also have Stacy from Wageningen University. And I am personally also very excited to speak at the Food Valley Summits on the 13th next week. So this is all really interesting. It's almost like a tidal wave of innovation with the Netherlands as one of its sort of epicenters, right? To that end, actually, I have a question for both of you. Perhaps Marten, you could answer first. There are different strengths and strategic advantages that different countries will bring to the table. India being, of course, very strong in terms of agricultural biodiversity, as well as the manufacturing ecosystem. So there's a lot that we can bring. And of course, the domestic consumption market, as well as that grows and becomes more and more comfortable with the alternative protein landscape. So how do you see we could partner across countries for win-win growth in the form of whether it's academic, business, or policy collaborations for the advancement of alternative proteins?
Yeah, it's true. I think what we call India and the Netherlands are natural partners. And I also think very much in the agricultural sector to think about all kinds of innovations to make the agricultural sector in a way circular or sustainable. If you look to the strength of India, of course, as you said, the domestic market, a huge population. In terms of alternatives, protein also very much important that it is has a high part of the population is vegetarian. There are also kind of also natural ingredients in India which can be explored for protein. And if you look to the India as well, it's really a country very strong in what we call frugal innovations, digitalization. So there are really strength on the Indian side. If you look to the Netherlands, it's of course has a long history in agriculture, very, very innovative, also very active with players in the private sector, in the public sector, companies like Unilever, Wageningen University, and also in terms of protein alternatives, there is a very active society working on this, very active ecosystem. So if you take India and Netherlands together, a large producer, a large exporter like the Netherlands, I think they are natural partners in dealing with this challenge in the society, connecting on the one hand the challenge with the innovations we have, but also very much attracting the private sectors because we do need private investment to deal with and to address this challenge of society. And therefore, I think India and the Netherlands are really natural partners in contributing to this challenge.
Would you like to add more to that question in terms of the theoretical promise of India and the partnerships that we can create?
Well, I think Marten mentioned most of it. We just think that, there's a big opportunity to leverage the plant-based protein sources within India, and maybe even also looking at side streams and how to extract plant-based proteins from those. We do think there's a lot of potential to increase production within India. And as Marten said, also look at, for example, export opportunities, and looking at India as a production base. We think, India's protein consumption is expected to contribute to 16% of the global increase by 2025. And yeah, those are just numbers, that reflects that there are enormous possibilities, opportunities. And, as the Netherlands, we focus on all sorts of proteins with, quite, still some part of the Indian population facing nutritional deficiencies, especially also in proteins. So we think there are a lot of reasons to partner on this. As Marten was saying, there are also a lot of developments now in India. India is so strong in the field of digital technology. We also see a lot of companies popping up now in the plant-based protein sphere. So we think the time is right to collaborate on this. And there are many things we can consider, like digital exchanges between companies, students, scientists, technology transfer, joint R&D programs. So those are the things that we'll be exploring in the coming months.
Absolutely. And, we're very grateful for your partnership because I think, so Ilse, my colleagues and I from GFI India met with the team from the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands towards the end of last year. And it's been less than a year since we met, even through this very tumultuous pandemic period. We've conducted some very interesting initiatives together, which have helped to advance this, what we're calling a smart protein corridor between the Netherlands and India. So, Ilse, could you speak a little bit to some of these initiatives that are already underway that are quite exciting to moving the needle in terms of this collaboration?
So we organized a webinar together on the 28th of May. As you say, it was in the middle of COVID times, but I do think that because of this digital interaction, we were able to reach more people. So we were very glad to organize this together with you and the Good Food and the Protein Cluster, the part of Food Valley. And it really provided a good opportunity to gauge the interest among Dutch companies and researchers in the plant-based protein sector in India. And well, because of that big interest, we decided to conduct a study into a more in-depth study on this topic. And the outcomes will be presented at the Protein Summit on the 13th of October. And if we again find that there's sufficient interest, then we are looking forward to organizing a mission or a digital mission to bring stakeholders together. We're also exploring opportunities for research collaboration. So really taking a broad approach to looking which opportunities exist. And yeah, very much looking forward to continue working together on this.
And then Marten, just an additional question on that same note. We're very excited about advancing this smart protein corridor. Would you say even in the midst of this kind of pandemic period, would you say that the time is ripe to advance these things? And what have you seen in terms of other collaborations across the Netherlands and India that give you hope that this is something that we can push forward with?
Of course, we are very much hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. But on the other hand, what I see, and that is very inspiring, that people are more and more alert about that we really have to address those challenges in society. And at the same time, I see a lot of activities going on between the Netherlands and India. Of course, most of them virtual. Last week, we had a digital innovation mission in agriculture. So you do see that companies are reaching out, institutions are reaching out to each other. So there is still very much possible by strengthening our collaboration. And I think there is a urgency and alertness among people that we really have to reach out and to work together in dealing with those issues. I mean, there are a lot of challenges and maybe we have more challenges than solutions. On the other hand, it's very inspiring to see so many companies, startups, institutions getting together and trying to find solutions. And that is very much happening, even though we are a little bit handicapped because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Marten, Ilse, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us at the Smart Protein Summit. It really is a pleasure to work with you. And thank you so much for everything you're doing to build international cooperation and to build a more sustainable world. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It was a real pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, Varun. And good luck with the summit.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful.